Hey, it's Cracker here. The other day I went and I recorded a whole other video basically talking about how, like, in a lot of ways, life can feel like a scam, Like, a lot of things in life just feel like a scam. Like you were promised one thing and, and then another thing is delivered entirely. You were told as a kid, that you can grow up, you can do whatever you want, that you just need to find a good job and, work hard and you'll be fulfilled. And that really isn't true, honestly. I mean, work doesn't really fulfill me. And I mean, there's other stuff that I would like to do that I think would bring me fulfillment, but I don't have the time or money to do it. It's all just, it can very much feel like in this life that you're just a slave. You're just a slave to your own biological needs. You have to work or you'll starve, right? And it kind of feels like you're put into this system, that you're basically just there to farm tax dollars. You work hard your entire life for decades and decades, and then if you're lucky, maybe by the time you get to the end, you'll be able to retire and you'll be able to enjoy your life a bit. But it just feels like a scam because it's like, wow, I'm gonna trade away, the best years of my life. If I'm lucky, by the time I'm 50, I'm gonna be able to do what I want. It just and then you look at the people that are actually at that age and are retired, and you ask yourself, is this actually the life that I want? Like, is this the life that I'm actually looking forward to? Most people who are older or retired in their 60s, they spend the most of their time just sitting around watching TV. Honestly, like they'll just sit on the couch and they'll watch like American Pickers or like Fox News or whatever the fuck. And it's like, wow, this is what I'm gonna be spending 40 years of my life working to achieve, like this, like, because if those people, if you think about it, if they retired at 30, do you think they would be sitting around in front of the TV all day doing nothing if they had retired at 30? No, you know. I feel like it's kind of the reason that happens is because you work all your life and you just get progressively more and more burnt out, and then at the end of it, it's like all you can do is recover once it's over. It's like the work week on a bigger scale. You because I work all week, and then it gets to the weekend and I'm tired, and it's like all the stuff that I want to do. All the projects that I work on, all like the things that I maybe wanted to accomplish. It's like, well, now I don't really have the energy to do any of these, so I just spend the weekend, playing video games, sitting in front of my desk. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's something nice about, kicking back and just playing some games with the boys. But very quickly, life just starts to blur together and it's like, wow, is this all there is? I mean, there were so many things I wanted to do and accomplish, and it feels like a third of those things I'm too tired to do, a third of them I don't have enough money to do, and then the other third is just kind of off the table entirely. Like, it's just denied to me. So I recorded that video kind of talking about all those things, and I was feeling really depressed about it, and it was just this whole kind of doomer video. Very, very complainy, sad video. And I got done recording it. And I went to go do my workout for the day, and I put my earbuds in, and I started working out, doing push ups. And as I started getting into the workout, as I had, some heavy metal in my ears, and I'm doing my push-ups, and the vril is starting to course through my veins. I realized something. I realized, fuck it, dude. Like, I can't be sitting here at 22 years old with the rest of my life ahead of me giving up already, throwing in the towel. And even though I believe that it's over, even though I'm black pilled, I'm just never going to stop trying. Because, at the end of the day, there's nothing else to do but try in this life. You might be a slave to the system. You might not have any agency over your life. Most of your life might be dictated by outside forces, but, at the end of the day, all there is to do is try. All you can do is try. There's nothing else to do but say there is what it is and to keep pushing. And it's not easy to do that. It's not going to feel good to do that, but neither does totally giving up, right? So I feel like I just have to kind of look at my life every day and say, what am I going to do today to try? Even if I can't actually try, maybe I can just try to try, right? Because rolling over and giving up it does not feel any better than trying, at the end of the day, if you didn't try, at the end of the day you're going to feel bitter and tired, and it's going to suck, and you're just going to be depressed, and you're going to hate yourself. But if you get up at the beginning of the day and you try your hardest and you still fail, and at the end of the day you're still going to feel bitter and you're still going to feel depressed, but at least you feel justified in feeling bitter and depressed, right? I mean, I guess it really is kind of a crappy way to look at life, but how else can you look at it at the end of the day? Are you really just going to sit back at the end of the day, and are you going to be angry at yourself? Or are you going to sit back at the end of the day, and are you going to be angry at the world? I would much rather be angry at the world at the end of the day than angry at myself. And even though I may never accomplish the things that I want to in my life, I've already given up on a lot of things. I'm never going to have a girlfriend or a family or anything like that. Those things were never destined for me to have, I think. But that doesn't mean I can't still try to get other things that I desire. Maybe it's not something materialistic. Maybe I don't even know what it is yet, But, I mean, even if I don't have a goal, I still have to try. I still have to try to push myself to keep going. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you do have in this life is yourself, There isn't anybody else that's going to save you. There isn't anything else that's going to come and help you. And I know this is probably like cope and all that. It might be just cope, but I would rather try and fail than just fail. Honestly, because there's nothing else to do. What else is there to do? Are you just going to sit back every day and just say it's over and do nothing? Because that's boring, honestly. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. And it's like, it doesn't make you feel any better at the end of the day, And there's times when in life you just need to sit back and admit defeat and kind of lick your wounds. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, waking up and already deciding for yourself at the beginning of the day that everything is fucked, and you're just going to do the bare minimum to get by, because that's not going to make you happy at the end of the day. And I know trying might not make you happy either. Trying and failing might not make you happy. But it's something. If you're not going to have success, you should at least have the satisfaction, the justification in your mind of knowing that you did your best. And so yeah, even though life is hard, even though life is unfair, even though it's not fun, even though it hurts, even though life takes more than it gives, you're here for better or for worse. You have two options. You can either keep trying or you can kill yourself. Those are the only two options you have at the end of the day. It's grim. That is the true black pill, The true black pill is that you can either try or you can kill yourself. Those are your only two options. And just because you try does not mean you're going to be successful, At the end of the day, you might have just as much to show for it as the guy who just stayed in bed and gave up. There might not be anything that separates the two of you at the end of the day, but I think that the guy who tried is going to have a lot more respect for himself than the guy who just sat back and gave up, because at the end of their lives, the guy who gave up is always going to have that nagging feeling in the back of his head telling him, and he knows it's cope, but he still asks the question, even though he knows it's cope, even though he knows there might not have been any difference in outcome, he still has that factor of unknown of what if I tried. Whereas the guy who tried and failed says, yes, I failed, yes, it's over for me, but what else was I going to use that time on anyway? Sitting in bed? That wasn't going to make me happy. Maybe trying didn't make me happy either, but at least I can be finished and I can know that I'm justified in saying that it's over because I actually tried. So that's the video. That's all I really had to say. Yeah, peace out.